truth of creation. Strength of God. In this moment, it is the opportunity of what is here right now, which is all love. In this present moment is all love, all strength, all truth, all light. The truth and the light and the strength that is here in this present moment can't be transferred to the past. So as you are tempted to think about the past and make decisions based on the past, it's essential to realize that the strength of God can't go there with you. The strength and truth of all that is only in the present. That's where you truly exist. The temptation of trying to either figure out the past with the mind that made it up, or to control the future and how it should look, how it should be according to the mind that made up the past, is guaranteed to recreate, remake the past in the future. There isn't an opportunity of healing when the mind of the belief of separation is jumping in fear back and forth between the past and the future. All that's there is disturbance. All that's there is a scrambling to try to find strength and something normal, and yet all that you're left with is a sense of weakness. But that weakness disguises itself as the pretense of control. Because that is the intention of the mind, the belief of separation. Its intention is to try to, out of fear, control outcome so that it looks like a fantasy of what you think it should be. But all the while, in this divine present moment, the power of love is calling to you that in your surrender, in your letting go of what you think you know, in all aspects of what you consider to be your life, in all aspects, the surrender. And learning to trust that when you put your life into the hands of God, and this must be remembered constantly because it's abnormal to the ego identity that is lived lifetime after lifetime trying to be in charge, trying to control. So that's very familiar. So the essence is very essential to keep remembering that not only have you put your life into the hands of God, and that means the life of peace and harmony, because that is the essence of the divine. When you keep referring back to, oh, that's right, I gave my life to God so I can rest. I must rest. I must trust. Or else I'm just repeating and making the same stories up again and again. And there's no possibility of healing there. There's no possibility of remembering a deeper truth. The deeper truth that you are the light of God. The strength of God is yours. But it is yours in your surrender. To join the will of God, thy will be done, is to join in strength. Every beloved who believes in the ego identity of separation, the body, the identity, all of that is held in a fear of death. And it's all held in a fear of not being in control of the body. But the essence of the fear that the ego uses is tension. Using tension to pretend that it's strength. Using tension and a very well-known state of fear of the rigidity of the belief of control. Everyone is familiar with that from the past. The rigidity of the belief that you're in control. It's an unconscious state, just habit, familiar. And in order to step through to the truth of peace, there needs to be a conscious surrender. The conscious surrender into the hands of God, into the hands of Spirit. That you happily surrender your belief in control and your belief in rigidity and the confusion that you believe that is strength. And also that you believe that the rigidity and the control, of course, which there's nothing that you can control because it never is controlled, but your attempt to control is not connected with how much pain that develops. How much pain there is in believing that you are needing to be defended against enemies of the mind. Now is the time of truly learning how to rest in love and learning to trust the power of God in your everyday life, in every situation, but moment to moment. No longer willing to make arbitrary decisions at the effect of what you think you already know, habits. How many habits have run this day so that you didn't have to make a choice and surrender? This is a place of honesty within, of truly wanting to see the barriers that have been made that hold back the awareness of love and peace because you're busy with your habits. Not even asking, is this most helpful? Will this serve me in this moment? Will this serve love in this moment? Or is there a defiance that is running that says, I'll do what I want, how I want it to be, and I like my habits, and I'm going to follow them. I am not going to stop and ask anything unless I have approved of it first, and then I can still do it myself. I don't need guidance. I need control. I like my decisions. The funniest thing about the statement, I like my decisions, that has been led is not true. I like my decisions. It's a statement of defiance that has no value and no truth. Because everyone that is called spiritually, being called to remember, that longing to remember, is pulled there by the actual realization of the misery of the past, the fear of the past. And yet in the moment of the defiance, it's as if the fantasy from the ego mind says, oh no, actually, I love being in charge. I love making my own decisions. I like my habits. Just speaking, because fear that the ego engenders. If you surrender to God, your identity is no longer what you think it is. Of course, the ego doesn't say then your identity becomes that you are the light of God, that you begin to realize that your heart is the center of the universe, that you open to the awareness that peace and harmony are the natural state of living, and that all the pain that and suffering that you've believed in, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, psychic, all of that pain is no longer viable because it's all coming from the mind that has been defiant in wanting control. That's how this of the ego mind is. But all the while, love waits. Love waits patiently, waiting for the realization, even for a second, that, oh, I'm here to learn to love. And love and control have no relationship at all. Love and habits have no relationship at all. Love and defiance have no relationship at all. Forgiveness a God's cleansing. But with forgiveness comes first the honesty of what is in the way, what's being believed, what's being made up, what's being completely done again and again and again out of habit. Addiction to this is how I like it, this is what I do, this is what I want, this is how I see it. It is an addiction, and it gives just enough of a fantasy of power, of control, that it's believed. Be to God, and letting that divine knowledge of truth, of love, lead you. To lead you out of the hell that's been made in the name of separation. The hell that's been made of the past, and the hell that will be made out of the future unless it's all surrendered. Not because there's a punishment involved, except a self-punishment of self-involvement and self-belief that you have something to control. That's why it's fantasized and made up. Moment to moment in this journey of love is the opportunity to follow. How many times a day does the mind say, I know? I know what's going to be best. I know what I should be doing. I know how to look on this. I know what I need. I know what I want. I know. Relationship with I know of the mind, it just stays a little bit under consciousness so that you're not really aware of how much the mind is repeating itself again and again of I know. But to consciously turn toward the light of God and consciously affirm, I don't know. That's the journey. That's the journey of awakening. I don't know. I don't know how to look on the situation. I don't know what's most helpful. I don't know what this next moment should even look like. Can I surrender so deeply that I'm actually asking with gratitude and with joy, with how to sit? Show me everything. Show me how to live this life. Show me. I'm willing. I don't know. I don't know what anything means. I don't know how to look at this next moment. I don't know how anything should be. Show me, please. I'm willing. The ego is screaming, don't be a fool. You're strong on your own, defiant. Don't listen to that voice, because that voice has never offered love. because the past has not brought any love. It's been about fear, getting, proving, winning, protecting, most of all. The belief of being a body and protecting the emotions, protecting the physical, protecting. But love is waiting to be invited. There's a belief in the ecosystem that counts on being 2 years old and expecting rescue because you're the victim. And when you believe that you're a victim, there is a deep connection with wanting to be rescued, so that you don't have to make the choice of turning to God and forgiving the past for the beliefs that the mind has carried. But this is one of the first essential elements of the spiritual journey, that you are not a victim. You're not a victim of the world, you're not a victim of the past, you're a victim of circumstance in any way. The victim identity was self-made in order to project the problems onto everybody else, believing that everything was done to you. And because of that, you must need to be rescued. But you are not a victim. And every choice that you make of I know says I'm separate. It's union, it's oneness with all creation. There is a belief in the ecosystem that says, well, I'll be the one who's going to figure out how to come back into union through my own knowing. And it's not even possible. It's only through surrender into the hands of love. Surrendering every element of identity and every element of the past, every element of every relationship, and allowing the divine alchemy of love's healing to transform and open the awareness to the oneness of all creation. A deep surrender. Every moment of every day, its divine purpose. And in this moment, with that intention, the intention becomes, here in the infinite circle of love, we are one. I willingly return to the oneness with all creation, here in the infinite circle of love. I return to the circle of love through my surrender to the light of God. I allow the door to be opened, and I can walk through that door as I say yes to the surrender of love. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. That life force is the truth of who you are. When you're in the ego identity of I know, you have no connection to the life force of God. You're in a I'll take care of myself identity. I know what I like. I know what I want. I know what I need. It's time to let go. It's time to let go of the I know. The life force itself. Returning to your true nature. To the awareness of that life force that has been dormant. That is actually your divine spirit. The divine spirit that is eternal, perfect, the holiness of all creation, not an individual spirit that has a name and a social security number, that is socially connected. None of that is true of the divine spirit, this divine spirit of eternal life that you truly are, beyond the body, beyond all the energy bodies, emotions, belief, and to the divine spirit of all love. The spirit of love is where the joy is. The spirit of love is where the peace is. The spirit of love is where your heart is, perfect and whole and radiating with all creation. And the mind that was developed by the ego of limitation and death is surrendered into the hands of God, returned, letting the mind be returned to God and transformed, no longer split, no longer allowed to run the show, but let it disintegrate into the illusion that it is, having no truth within it. Everything surrendered. Spirit of love. Love because it exists. Nothing else is true. Opening to the light of love itself. Surrendering everything you thought you knew in this moment. Surrendering the nervous system, surrendering the emotional body, surrendering the physical body, surrendering the mind, surrendering the heart, surrendering the future, surrendering the past. Everything's surrendered. Allowing the divine alchemy of love to heal, bringing healing, love to everything. Allow this prayer to lead the way and to unravel all of the knowing as the light of God brings you divine direction to follow. You're remembering that these prayers are divinely brought to this earth plane by divine beings that want to serve love's remembering and are answering the call of your soul, even when your mind is saying, I do it myself, I'm in charge. The soul, your divine spirit, is still yet calling for help, being the intelligence. Sister, brother, pay keen attention. Go very, very slowly. Do not mistake your path. Sister, brother, keep your feet on the ground. Be careful with your pride. Be careful with your vanity. Sister, brother, go very, very slowly. Be careful with the traps of life in your path. Sister, brother, journey with attention, sincerity in the heart, to walk well on this earth. Go very, very slowly. Well, this is pretty much the upside down from the world, because the world's agreement and what's in the mind for the most part is to let time be the master and make the major decisions of speed. And there's a decision maker within the mind that says, I know how things should be. And here is God calling. Here is the Spirit of Love calling you to go very, very slowly, to pay keen attention in the moment, to not mistake where you are walking and who is running your decisions. Be careful with your pride. Be careful with your vanity. This is not a reprimand. This is an offering of love, to recognize that the I know is completely, even though its origin is fear, for sure, the origin of I know is fear, because it's the only thing that the ego can make, is through the use of fear. But even with that, the pride and the vanity of the ego's I know is waiting for a payoff, constantly waiting for a payoff of being in charge and the feeling of being in control. Except that it never pays off. It truly never has a payoff. It's always the same. It's always around the next corner, it's going to feel better. Around when I make these decisions on my own, then I'll feel better. Then I'll finally get control. But it never comes. Because there is nothing to control. The ego's world of illusion is constantly changing because it has no truth in it. It has no love, and love is permanent. Truth is permanent. It doesn't shift and change. Only the ego of the belief through the senses and the belief through the emotional body changes constantly. It's like a roller coaster ride, and you're trying to control it. But in the surrender to God, there is peace. There is the ease of the journey with divine intention and attention as the will of God is joined in love. The Divine Mother, the aspect of the Divine Feminine that brings comfort and clarity when it is wanted, when it is asked for, when it is invited, can lead you so easily. You're never without the mighty companions of love that want to help you and want to lead you and want to show you the way of truth, want to bring knowledge to you. Oh, my Holy Queen Mother, my Divine Mother, may you come to us now. Come and open my heart, because this is what I truly want. Show me the way. Open my heart so that I can see, truly see with the heart, instead of using the senses of the ego that thinks it knows, but is only in distortion. Come and open my heart so that I can truly see. Come and guide my life, my Blessed Mother. Guide me in every moment. I will follow. Show me the way. Come and give light to this journey of love. Show me a new way. Come and show me the truth of being with divine, blessed beloveds, and how to serve these beloveds with love without trying to get anything or believing that there is something to get. Come and give light to those who can't see. Come and give light to my heart so that I can see through the purity of love. Here I receive you, and I prostrate myself at your feet and realize I don't know how to walk in this world and learn the truth of love. Show me the way. My heart I give to you, and I ask you for deeper faith. I ask you to teach me to trust. And as I ask you for my faith here within my heart, I ask you to illuminate my awareness of the truth. Oh, my Blessed Mother, come and guide me with all beloveds so that we can all arrive together at the door of love, at the divine door, bringing the love that we have learned and will continue to learn as we walk through the door into the truth of oneness. Show me the way. Oh, minha Senhora Mãe, Senhora da Conceição, venha agora conosco, abrir meu coração para poder ver. Vem guia minha vida, ó Virgem da Conceição, vem dar luz aos teus filhos, vem proteger os meus irmãos, vem dar luz ao que não vem dar luz ao coração. Aqui a te recebo, prostrado aos vossos pés, meu coração te dou. Te peço a minha fé, te peço a minha fé, dentro do meu coração, te peço a minha luz, ó Virgem da Conceição, guia os meus irmãos, para todos juntos chegar no porto divino, depois que soubemos o amar. Faith, faith in the divine, faith in the way to love, faith. Faith is not known in the world. Faith stirs in your heart as you say, yes, I want to come home. I want to remember the truth of love. I want to remember freedom and peace. I want to accept the truth of love. Let my faith grow. Let my faith become the center of my life. I say yes, yes, yes. Show me the way. Spare the world your good ideas. What? Spare the world your ideas of good until you know that all is perfect. My teacher once said to me, spare the world your ideas of right until you know that all is holy. How tempting it is in the world to have opinions about others' behaviors, to believe that your opinion about others' behaviors has such validity and righteousness. And yet love keeps calling to a place of humility. Spare the world your ideas of good until you recognize that all is perfect and that there is no one to criticize and that there is no one to judge of their behaviors or their outlooks or their ways. That the only place that those behaviors and those ways are affected is through your own mind. This is what's so upside down in the belief of separation, is that everyone believes that they are at the effect of the behaviors on the outside, when in actuality, the mind within is making up, in a nanosecond, it makes up a decision and judges that behavior and decides what is wrong and what is right, and suffers through that decision, not suffering from the behavior on the outside. Let's say someone makes a decision that would not be a decision that you would make from your own mind, because, or let's say you were even connected to guidance and you don't think that that's how God would guide you, but you decide that their decision making is either rude or it's uncalled for, or it's not nice, whatever you want to put on it. You don't like it. And in that moment that you make that decision, that becomes your own suffering. Because it was not actually the behavior, again, that was the cause of your disturbance. It was your own mind and your own judgment. And that's where all the pain and the suffering comes from. The difficulty with not accepting that awareness of cause and effect is that you will keep trying to control everybody else's behaviors and how they are in the world thinking that if you can control their behaviors and how they are with you, that you will eventually feel better, that you will eventually be able to be with them and like them, or think that they are doing good things because they now are doing them the way you want them done. But that's not where the pain comes from. The pain that everyone experiences is coming from their own minds. It isn't coming from the outside behavior or the outside conclusions of anybody else or anything else. It's coming from your perception of it and how the meaning that you have given to it from the rules that you have made of your own little world. And everybody has made rules of their world, of how they expect things to be and how they're supposed to be. But these rules of the world that you have made have no connection to the laws of God. And the journey of love is about surrendering all the rules that you have made. But first you have to recognize them. You have to accept that you have made up your own rules. Because if you wouldn't have made up your own rules, you wouldn't be at the effect of your own rules and giving meaning to everything that comes from your own rules. Let's say somebody has a rule that windows need to be cleaned once a week. In that rule, there becomes a place of agitation unless you're doing it yourself. But let's say it's somebody else's job and they're not doing it every week. And you become agitated. And you become disturbed because they are not following your rules and doing it your way. But you really do believe that it's their lack of doing it your way that is the problem, rather than that it's your mind that is condemning and judging, that is the pain that you are suffering from. And this is an essential place of learning, because or else you won't want to surrender what you think you know into the hands of God and really come to a place of accepting the laws of God, which are the laws of love, and wanting to be guided to actually transform through the guidance of love the state of humanity. Because all of humanity is believing in their own minds and their own worlds and their own rules. And this is where all the battles come from. Everyone has their own set of rules that they are believing in, built out of a defense system of protection, believing that you are in danger if you don't protect yourself. It's an insidious relationship with rules that you've made up. And they're unconsciously held because the ego doesn't want you to see the rules, wants you to think that they're normal. And this is just the way they should be. But every time you feel that agitation, every time you feel a sense of distress, that somebody has done something that is distressing you, that's the opportunity of really seeing that this is all being made up in your mind, and that your own mind is the cause of your self-attack and the cause of your disturbance. It's not happening on the outside. It's all happening in the mind that's making up its own rules and its own beliefs that you know how things should be. Spare the world your good ideas. Why did this beloved write this poem, or why did God write this poem through this beloved? Spare the world your good ideas until you are aware that all is perfect. Because you are attacking yourself constantly with your ideas of what you think you know, of how you think things should be, and how you believe that others are not following your ways. Now, every once in a while, then you find someone in the world in their ego state that, oh, we can agree. We're simpatico. We have agreements that are like one another, and our egos can agree that we are empowered by our knowing. We can agree that we have been a victim together. We can agree that the world should look more like we want it to look, and then it would run much better. This is the insidiousness of the ego system that looks for other egos to align with in agreement, rather than turning to the truth of God and asking for guidance on the laws of God, the laws of love that heal all, that can heal all of humanity if accepted. To accept that you are under no laws but God's is to turn your life over and no longer have opinions and assessments and ideas of anything on the outside. But it is to realize that you are at the effect of your own rules, and those own rules will end up biting you, because you are also under the thumb of those rules that your mind has made up in the name of defense and protection. So you have to follow those rules too. So there is a self-attack going on all the time, because if you don't line up to the rules that you have decided are legitimate, you're a failure. So in the world that somebody else told you that you were less than, or that circumstances in the past said you were less and not good enough and bad and wrong and all of that, that's actually coming from your own mind, your own rules. And it's a hard taskmaster, because everybody's rules are, even beloveds who carry rules that look sloppy, they want their rules to be followed, and they want the freedom of their sloppiness in what they consider to be that, to be the winner. So everybody's rules are fighting everybody's rules. I want it like this. I'm the one who's right. And it becomes a place of defense. It has to, because it's made by the defense system that says, in my defense, I have to be proven that I'm right, because or else my worth will be impugned by others believing that they're right. So over and over and over again, God is calling each beloved through love to let go and stop judging. This isn't just about judgment that says it's not a nice thing to do. It's not about that. It's about the pain and the attack that the judgment holds in thinking it is righteous, in thinking that it knows something, and not connecting to the underbelly of the ego's intention of being that these rules are necessary for you, you think, in order to keep you safe. But they don't keep you safe at all. They do the opposite. They attack constantly. They attack and make turmoil constantly. They create bile. They create poison. They make your whole nervous system be in constant upset and fear, because you are judging through your own rules of what you think makes safety, the knowing. This is where all the I know comes from. And the demand that your knowing is right when nobody knows anything. Spare the world your ideas of right until you know that all is holy. This was this beloved's master who brought this teaching to him. It was love that brought that teaching. And it is a call of love. Spare the world your ideas of right. Spare the world. Spare yourself from your own ideas of being right, because every time you think you're right, it's a self-attack. It's an attack of hatred. To believe that you are right, that you could be right and make up something out of your own mind that would trump the truth of God. And that you would believe that your being right would have validity and have worth and be worth fighting for. This is the truth of every beloved. Every beloved has made up their own set of rules. That's why there's battles all the time. That's why every beloved comes up against others that are determined to be just as right. And then there's friction and there's upset. Every time somebody else thinks that they're right, back off. Let it go. It means absolutely nothing. Let this be your practice of love. That there is nothing to win of being right. That urge, that feeling that comes from that wanting to prove that you're right, that your rules should be the ones that are followed. Your knowing should be what is followed. And when you come up against a beloved who is determined to be right, and you let go. And you let go because it means absolutely nothing to be right. It has absolutely no worth. And in that moment, you are hearing the call for love, that you are not going to battle over a delusional illusion of being right, because there's absolutely nothing to win. And then you turn inward to the guidance of love, and you ask, how do I serve this moment? How do I really serve this beloved? I surrender being right. I'd rather be peaceful, joyful, truthful, helpful than being right, because right serves nothing, absolutely nothing, ever. Because the energy of wanting to be right is wanting to attack, wanting to win. There's no love there. There's a belief that everybody carries of being in the belief that you can be unfairly treated. And all the rules that you have made up have come from that belief of the past that says, I am unfairly treated and I have to find my rules to protect myself. And then I have to want those rules to be then unconscious enough that they'll just run without me having to even call on those rules, because I'll be in reaction all the time, wanting my rules to be followed. There's no love there. There's no truth. There's no light. It's just a place of made up rules in the name of attack. And it's all to attack yourself, because your own rules become your attack of yourself. You become the taskmaster of a set of rules that you arbitrarily made up in the name of defense, believing that you were unloved and unwanted. And none of this is true. It's an entire made up structure of rules that unconsciously you are imprisoned by. And that all of the pain of believing that something is happening from the outside is actually happening from the rules that you've made up in your own mind of how things should be and what they mean, and all the meaning that you've given to everything, and you've made a whole system. And that system is hell, because it's a self-abuse. It's a self-attack constantly, trying to live up to the rules that you believe are righteous when they're just totally made up. They have nothing to do with God, because you haven't been in contact with the guidance of God. No, it's not coming from God. It's coming from the past of the belief of what you think you know. Thank God it's not real. You can let it go. You must let it go, because it has no value. It's totally fabricated. Feels real, feels legitimate, and it feels like when others don't follow your rules that's the cause of your pain, but it isn't. It's actually coming from your judgment of your own mind and the condemnation of the others, that you believe that they need to follow your rules. You don't tell anybody that. You don't go around saying, follow my rules, except in certain circumstances. But that's what's going on all the time. My rules aren't being followed. Spare the world your ideas of right. So when I say in teachings, there's no right and there's no wrong, and that you truly have to surrender your beliefs of right and wrong and good and bad and likes and dislikes, this is how deep and insidious those elements are. They run your world of rules. And you will even argue about what you like and why you're right. I mean, that's how insane the mind is. And if somebody doesn't like what you like, then they're wrong, because you want to be right. But there's no love there. There is no freedom. There is no truth. There is no connection with the world, the universe of love. The world of love doesn't battle, doesn't care about being right. There's nothing to be right about. There's only one. It's perfection. There's no right or wrong. That's the duality of the belief of a split world. It has no reality. So love is just calling you, just through this tiny little teaching, spare the world your good ideas, please. This is the first step of the divine spirit, to spare the world of your good ideas, of what you think you know and how things should be. This is not a condemnation. This is a realization that those good, quote unquote, good ideas, those bad ideas, those beliefs that you carry of what is right and what is wrong, are the pain that you carry and are constantly attacking you, because you're not wanting to follow the laws of God and open to the laws of God, which are the laws of love and harmony and peace where there's nothing to get, nothing to win, nothing to prove. Resting, giving the mind to God. No opinions about what's happening, how it's unfolding, what it needs to look like. This is where all the pain comes from. Instead of trusting, oh, I'm putting this situation completely into the hands of God. I have no idea how it should be, what the outcome should be. I'm just saying yes to wherever God is leading me. Show me the way. Show me how to look at this, because I don't have a clue. I'm looking through my rules, which are a place of pain. And in that fear of my rules starting to disintegrate in some way, because I think something's happening, I search for others that will agree with me at the lowest level I can find in the world. I will find the lowest level so that they will agree with me in the most fullest way. I'm not going to go and find the highest calling of love to agree with me, because the highest calling of love is not going to agree with me. It's going to agree with the laws of God. So I'm going to find others that agree with the world's view of the rules that are made up from within. But there's no truth there. And there's no way home there. There's no possibility to return home. The ego believes it is completely on its own. That's what the body represents. The body identity represents being completely alone. And in that is a terrible fear. When you believe that you're alone unconsciously, it's not an active belief that's running saying, you're alone, you're alone, you're alone. It's behind the curtain, but it's running. And when you believe you're alone, it's really easy to panic. And it's very easy to get very hooked into a neediness, a belief that you've got to unconsciously, or you have to somehow get others to agree with you and join with you in order so that you don't feel alone. But the aloneness is always running, because the ego identity is what's running. The rules of the ego are running. So you always feel alone with your rules. And you have to live up to those rules. The ego believes it is completely on its own, and in fear turns to other egos, trying to unite with them, trying to find commonalities with other egos so that you can feel connected. It's like if somebody is rude to you, you can call somebody else and tell them how rude this other person was, and then they can agree with you that they were really rude, and you feel connected for a couple of minutes. And that's the temptation that the ego is constantly using. That's part of the rules that are made up, is that it's important to get allies to agree with you about others' behaviors and others, how they disappoint or they misbehave or they don't do things according to the rules that you've made. The funny thing is about the rules that we make on our own, on our ego ownness, is that we actually believe that the rules that we've made up are the rules of the world. That they're actually righteous rules that should run the whole world. That these things are just wrong, just bad, but they're all made up. Nothing's happening. The world is perfect. Not the world that you see and not the world that you give meaning to, but God's life force. God's exquisite perfection of love that is everything and everyone. And while you're busy with the rules that you're making up, you're not available to see the light and the beauty and the perfection that is actually here in this present moment, in your, with the divine laws of God. That's where God is calling you to. I am under no laws but God's. In truth, that's absolutely accurate. But you have free will that can choose to keep your own rules of the past working for you so that you can stay defended. Even though your heart and your soul, your spirit is being called to the laws of God, to return to the laws of God, the laws of love, where there is no problem. If we take that one rule, do you believe that there are problems? There are your rules. Your rules are about the problems that you believe in. But there is only one problem, and it doesn't actually exist. But there is only one problem. The problem is you think you're separate from God. And in that problem, the realization is there is no problem because you're not separate from God. You never have been. You can't be separate from God. Just because your mind thinks you are doesn't make it so. It's just illusion. But everybody is believing that there are problems and making problems out of the mind that made the rules that believes in problems. All the perception of problems are coming from things that you're making up in the mind of wanting to be in control and wanting to have it a certain way so that you know what it's supposed to be. And it's all fabricated. There is no problem. The scout, the ego scout, looks for problems. For sure looks for problems. It goes around looking for problems. If you're conscious and you're wanting to be conscious, it'll be shown to you how your mind is going out looking for problems to worry about and to fret about and to get under control of your rules, how things should be. But not realizing that all of that work with the mind and that fear that's running through the mind and running with the allies of the ego and everything, it's what's stirring fear constantly. And there's an upset all the time. And yet it takes that leap of faith to let it go, put it into the hands of God, truly surrender the belief that there's anything to be worried about, have a problem. It's a never-ending supply. That's what you can count on. There's a never-ending supply of the belief of problems in the ego structure. Never-ending. You think you just fix one problem and then something else shows up. Another new problem. Now this, now this, now this, now this. And there's no connection to your divine spirit of joy. You're constantly in a state of being dispirited. The spirit is like squashed by the rules that you've made up of how things should be to be safe. Believing that you are in danger because you believe that you're a body. It's a vicious cycle that that is not, you can't break the cycle. You have to surrender to the power of God to truly heal the beliefs that you've made up. The belief of your good ideas, your rules, your knowing, your problems, everything that you think that you're aware of. The ego tries to unite with other egos to have agreements, have confidences of illusion. And the belief that self-esteem, your worth, so to speak, in the world, that's because it's a worldly word, self-esteem, in the ego's terms is completely delusional. This is not about, the spiritual journey is not about building a better identity that the world will, and you will feel better about, that you're no longer thinking yourself as unworthy. You've built some self-esteem out of your rules that you've made, which are delusional to begin with. It's just a system that has no reality to it. You are perfect. Self-esteem in the world says you're going to build a better identity. Low self-esteem to high self-esteem. But it's a made-up self. The divine self is perfect, whole and complete. The life force of God, not a body. Not limited to a body that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, sometimes falls down. And the identity that says, oh, this is me, suffers. The identity that says, oh, I'm not in control. I used to be in control of this body and I'm losing control over it. No, there was no control to begin with. It all has to be surrendered into the hands of God. Use this body as an instrument of love only to express love. Only to offer love. To offer charity. To offer patience, to offer kindness, to offer the heart, comfort. That's the only purpose of the body. Body is not who you are. It will fall away. It will disintegrate. And you, the divine spirit, will continue eternally. So this is the lifetime of meeting this divine spirit that you are, and no longer being fooled by the rules that you've made of being a body and the rules that you've made of defense that say, I am a body that's going to die, or that I'm a body that needs the approval of others and to get things from others, rather than I'm offering love because it is the spirit of who and what you truly are, to offer the light and love of God, of wholeness, of oneness, of charity, and to answer the call of love, to let the body be used in its movement to only serve love. Nothing to get, nothing to prove, nothing to fix. Surrender it all to God and find the happiness that is natural in your divine spirit. And make the connection that when you have your mind filled with your rules and your judgments and your ideas of how things should be, your entire spirit is not connected to who you are. You are then dispirited, unaware of your divine spirit, because the mind is trapped in the mind. Your whole being is trapped in the mind of the rules that you've made up of how things should be and what they all mean. and there's no love there. But you are that love. You are the light and the love of the universe, of all creation, one with God. That's the truth of you. There's a teaching that is exactly this. What you see on the outside in any given moment reflects your thinking. It reflects your own mind. You are only seeing what your mind is producing. That's why it's so funny when there's upset of somebody else, because you think that they're doing something, but it's not them, it's your own mind. Everything that you see on the outside is a reflection of your own thinking. And your thinking only reflects the choice of what you want to see. So when you want to be in control and run your own life and not ask for guidance, show me the way, you're seeing the reflection of what you choose to live your past again and again and again, because that's all that you're thinking is about your rules and your ideas of what you think you know. That's why love keeps calling. That's why all of us in love keep calling to all beloveds to surrender the mind and open to the guidance of love, to surrender the rules that you've made up, so that you can see that all your pain is coming from your own mind. What you see reflects your thinking. So if you see somebody not behaving in the way that you want to, it's coming from your own mind, and you are now attacking your own self with your own rules of how you think it should be, but you're suffering because you think somebody out there is doing something, but it's all in your own mind. Everybody could see this pretty easily in a moment with, let's say, a young child who isn't behaving, quote unquote, as your mind thinks that that child should behave. Now, the mind in the world goes to the books that are written by other egos and says, well, these are the rules of how children should behave at this age, and this child is not behaving. So I am disturbed by that child's behavior. No, you're disturbed by the rules that you made up, that being is behaving in a way that you don't like. And you are now attacking your own self with your own rules of what you think it should be, instead of asking the divine, how can I serve in this moment? What would be most helpful? How can I answer this call for love? But you're not available to that because you think you know. And you keep on spinning in that belief that you're right. This child is not being made up the rules that you now agree with. They're saying the same thing, but you're not available for God's guidance. You're not available because you have decided that guidance is not something that you need. You have your rules, you have your mind, you have your ideas of how things should be. And this is where we many times become aware of our arrogance, of our fears, and of what we're actually following when we have the opportunity of letting God show us the way. We have the opportunity of letting the Holy Spirit, the guidance of love, show us what is actually most helpful in the healing of humanity, of how to learn to serve with love. There's a terrible amount of fear of how to be in your heart and bring love to a relationship of love. Doesn't matter who the relationship is with. It could be a dog, a divine being that's in the form of a dog. It could be an ant. It could be a 2-year-old child. It could be an adult. It doesn't matter. The fear of not being able to access your heart is because of the rules that are running your mind, and you want to quote truth instead of having it in your heart and really offering that love, learning to offer that love through the guidance of God, through the exquisite opening of God's movement through you, of being the instrument of love, because you're asking for that help, because you're asking constantly for that guidance, and it becomes natural. That's what I can promise you, is that as you say, yes, please guide me, every moment I am saying, yes, show me the way. I'm stopping. I'm going very, very slowly to not mistake my path. And I'm going in this slow, deliberate, conscious way of wanting direction, wanting to be shown the way, wanting to be taught, wanting to learn. Imagine what it would have been like if you were in first grade and you would have been available to learn instead of being defended by your own rules of thinking that you had to defend against the learning. Well, this is the same thing. You're in first grade and God is wanting to show you the way. The Holy Spirit is wanting to guide you. Be available. Be available. Be there with the thirsty longing for truth, the thirsty longing for love. Show me the way. And love wants to show you the way. Love wants to disintegrate the rules that you made up in direct defiance and in direct hatred of God's way. Because that's the ego's intention, is I don't want to follow God's way. I want to follow my own rules. And there's no love there. It's just self-attack again and again and again. But that's the leap of faith. That is the leap of faith that it takes to return to the way of love. Sometimes kicking and screaming, for sure. I had a beloved say to me today, well, you're special. No. No. I kicked and screamed just like everybody else did, but I finally had to say, I can't do this alone. I can't do this. And I can't live this life anymore like this. I can't live in the hell that I made. That was my one sanity, the recognition of the hell that I made. The recognition that it was my own mind, that was my own hell. And that it had to be surrendered. What you see reflects your thinking. And your thinking but reflects your choice of what you want to see. That will actually stop you in your tracks from ever having an opinion about anybody else, because it won't mean anything anymore. In everyone you see but the reflection of what you choose to have him be to you. In that moment, every reflection of any beloved is exactly the reflection of what you choose to have him be to you. He is fulfilling, she is fulfilling a role that fits into your script of your own beliefs. If you believe you're unfairly treated, you will see someone outside you as treating you unfairly because you believe that you can be unfairly treated. You believe that that's possible. And so then the beloved shows up and reflects that, because you're only going to see what you believe in. You can't see anything else. You can't see the light of God if you don't put your faith in that everything is the light of God. If you are willing that everything and everyone is the light of God, you won't see anything else. It may take a while because of the insidiousness of the ego's wanting to be right and wanting to see through distortion. But everyone is the beloved. There's nothing else occurring. There is no battle. And the willingness to come home to that and spare the world your good ideas. Having a bonfire in the middle of love and surrendering all the rules that you made up into the bonfire of love and following the laws of God. Faith to follow the laws of God. Faith to no longer be willing to be defended. Faith to just follow. Show me the